Hey guys, before we get started on this episode, just wanted to remind you that the Golden State with Mates Patreon is now live with up to 5 bonus podcast episodes every week, along with a few in-depth written articles covering the Warriors and the NBA. After giving away a brand new Nike Stephen Curry jersey earlier in the month, I'm now giving away a brand new copy of NBA 2K26 in the month of November on your choice of platform for the winner that will be drawn among Best Mate members. If you haven't checked it out already, I'll leave a link in the description. It'd be great if you could check it out. Alrighty, welcome back to the Golden State with Mates post-game live after the Warriors suffer a 120-110 loss to the Milwaukee Bucks at Fiserv Forum on Thursday. That's easily the most disappointing loss of the season. In fact, I would say it's the first disappointing performance of the season. Like, the loss in Portland was like third game in 4 days, second night of a back-to-back. I was just like, I could live with it. This one's like Giannis. When Giannis is out, I'm like, okay, well, this is an easy dub. In fact, I don't know, maybe it's just my arrogance getting to me, but going into the game, I was like, this game should be done by the end of the third. I do not expect the starters to have to play heavy minutes in this game. And then we get to the end of it, and we have Jimmy Butler playing nearly 37 minutes, Jonathan Kuminga playing nearly 34 minutes. We have Steph Curry playing 35 minutes. Like, Draymond plays nearly 33 minutes. That's just awful. But I want to start on a positive, I suppose, for Milwaukee. Ryan Rollins, man. Like, who would have thought that at the time the Jordan Poole-Chris Paul trade happened, that the Warriors would regret giving up Ryan Rollins more so than giving up Jordan Poole? And honestly, I think that's the case. Now, I'm not saying Ryan Rollins is better than Jordan Poole, although you could actually, based on the start of this season, you could make the argument. But based on the contracts, obviously, Ryan Rollins, is a guy that the Warriors drafted 44th overall, gave a main roster spot to, which is controversial at the time. He gets traded in the Jordan Poole-Chris Paul trade to kind of throw into Washington. He plays like 10 games for the Wizards or whatever, gets waived, partly because he had this legal issue going on, and then gets picked up by the Bucks off the NBA scrap heap on a two-way contract, and then it's just risen to what we've seen now in this game, which is a remarkable performance: 32 points, 3 rebounds, 8 assists. Real concern on Golden State's inability to stop and limit some of the quicker guards in the league. Now, they did a good job on Ja, but Ja doesn't have a jump shot, it must be said, and they just can kind of funnel him towards the rim. Ryan Rollins in this game, no one could stay in front of him. JK's defense was poor, it must be said. Like, he just way too easy. And anyone that was trying to limit Ryan Rollins, just getting to the rim and to the paint and just letting, either him go up for an easy bucket at the rim, or the defense collapses and he sprays it out, and that's how he has his 8 assists. I'm assuming that most of his assists came on threes from teammates, as the Bucks shot, I think it was 19 of 46. Yeah, 19 of 46, 41.3% from D. And so he's got a bag. He's got an offensive bag because he's got really good speed to get to the rim. And then he's got a jump shot too. He's shooting very, very efficiently on threes. He goes 5 of 7 again in this game. The dude's a player, and he'd be helpful on the Warriors right now. Very, very helpful. Now, would he have got the same opportunity? Probably not. Would he have become the same player? Probably not. But, man, credit to Ryan Rollins, who's just been fantastic. Just to get onto some of your comments early here, Thendek says, why do we do this every time a star player from the opposite team is out? We lose. Steve just mentioned that. Steve said we're something like 0-12 when the star player of the opposing team sits. I do think there is an element of this of, hey, you find out Giannis is out, an hour before the game, and there's just probably a collective, almost like a sigh of relief of like, okay, we don't have to worry about Giannis now. We can kind of chill out. We're probably going to win this game. Now we're really heavy favorites. And you just let the foot off the pedal, it must be said. And I think the Warriors defensively, that's how they took this. They took this as Giannis is out, so we don't need to worry about this team. Look at the guys they've got. They're not going to be able to put up the type of numbers and points to be able to compete in this game when you've got, like, I tweeted it out, you're looking at Ryan Rollins is a former two-way guy. AJ Green's a former two-way guy. And you've got Golden State with a bunch of future Hall of Famers. Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Al Horford, right? And you would have thought the talent differential would have been enough for the Warriors. But sometimes, like, I think there's so much talent in the league now that you cannot simply rely on that. And the Warriors did not come to play, particularly on the defensive side of the floor. And then offensively, they were also pretty lazy. They had, 19 turnovers in this game. And I don't think anyone really played well individually. Like, Steph has 27, but he shoots 8 of 19, 42% from the floor isn't ideal. JK has 24 points, 8 rebounds, 7 of 11 shooting. So you see some of that, and you think, okay, that's a good Jonathan Kuminga game. And it was okay. It wasn't terrible by any means, but he also had 5 turnovers. Steph also had 5 turnovers. Those two guys combined for 10 turnovers. You got that, and you got Ryan Rollins, and you got the 3-point differential, and that's the difference in the game. The Warriors were able to remain close by having a pretty significant free throw differential and advantage there, but which is rare for the Warriors, I suppose. But they end up going 25 of 26 in this game, and the Bucks are 9 of 13, so pretty significant differential there. And that was really the only reason why the Warriors were able to remain close, because the turnovers were a huge problem. The field goal percentage, the 3-point percentage was a real problem. Defense was a real problem. So just not really too many positives to take away from this game, it must be said. Empire says Kerr has to stop playing Buddy and GP2, especially in the same lineup. QP should have got more minutes. Bucks were making almost every shot on Horford, while Horford could only make one. The Horford had a couple of blocks in back-to-back possessions in the second quarter, but aside from that, was pretty average. Look, I'm not overly concerned about Al Horford. I'm very disappointed in the whole Quentin Post situation. So it's almost as if they were like, okay, we think Giannis is playing, so we're going to start Quentin Post. So they prepare to start with Quentin Post. And then when Giannis is not playing, they kind of roll it out in the start of the first and third quarters. But aside from that, I don't think Quentin Post played any other minutes in the game. Am I right in saying that? He started and he played less than 10 minutes. And I'm pretty sure they were the first 5 minutes of the game and the first 5 minutes of the third quarter. And this is the thing is, just because the matchup doesn't necessarily mean you have to play him. Like, if he's still one of your best guys, then why not put him on the floor, right? And in fairness, like 2 days ago against the Clippers, he was one of their best guys. Okay, 12 points and really excellent defense. I just thought, I suppose you can look at it and say, well, they got killed on the 3-point line, so maybe Quentin Post wouldn't have made much of a difference. But I think there's a inherent part of me that thinks you should just reward, in this situation, like good performances. And Quentin Post had a really good season best performance 2 days ago against the Clippers. Reward that. Give the guy more than 9 minutes and 39 seconds. You don't have to go small just because the other team doesn't have their unstoppable downhill force in Giannis Antetokounmpo. I was just disappointed because I think there's almost a moral factor at players. Like, you reward good performance. The Warriors are doing that with Jonathan Kuminga right now. Great. Like, why doesn't that translate to Quentin Post after a great performance on Tuesday against the Clippers? Just disappointed. Thendek says we are like 0-12 when the star player is out. I think Steve just picked that number out of his head, but yes, like, they clearly have an issue there. Our 2 losses are against fast young teams. We need to make some changes. Yeah, it's a good point. I think some of this stuff, so the Trailblazers' second night of a back-to-back, 3rd and 4 nights, and this one was a 3rd and 4 nights as well. There's clearly an element of that at play where Steve said after the game the Warriors were tired and fatigued. And when you combine the physical fatigue with Giannis is out, so there's like a mental fatigue of, all right, we can chill out now. We don't have to worry about things as much. I think that kind of comes into a game like this where the Bucks really get it rolling offensively. So very disappointing. Empire says this is about to be the same as last season. Warriors are going to be tired every 2-3 games. I'm going to chill out on that. Like, last season was obviously a huge fall off the cliff after they started 12-3, and then I think they went 13-26 in the next 39 games or something. I'm not overreacting. Is this a really disappointing loss? Yeah, absolutely. Are you just going to flat out have really disappointing losses across an 82 game season? Yes. Like, that's just going to be facts. You can't play well every game in the NBA. And so I'm not overreacting. This is disappointing, but This is going to happen sometimes with older teams as well. You just don't quite have it as much. We saw it with the Clippers. Like the Clippers just didn't quite have it 2 nights ago against the Warriors, right? And the Warriors deserve some credit for that, but the Clippers weren't at their best. And the same can be said for this game. The Bucks took advantage of the Warriors not being at their best, must be said, and credit to them. But Golden State would certainly look at this game and say, "Hey, that was on us. We weren't beaten by Milwaukee. We beat ourselves with some lackluster defense and the turnovers." And so, like, just silly stuff. Like, really, like, I think the epitome of it was a couple of the throw ahead passes, the pods thinking he was a grade A quarterback, like trying to launch one, and he launched it 10 rows back, like in the first half. There's even one game kind of slipping away, and Steph tries to throw it ahead to Jimmy and throws it way out of bounds. Just some really silly turnovers. Like some of the ones with JK were disappointing, where he's kind of driving towards the rim. And in fairness, some of the Kuminga stuff with the officiating in this game I thought was terrible. Like he had a really, what I thought was sweet footwork on a layup on Miles Turner in the second quarter, I think it was. And they called a travel. And I was like, it looked like just a really good move. And there was a couple other ones where there was another turnover where I was looking and thinking, oh yeah, the one where he threw it to himself kind of thing. He got called for a travel. He put up a layup, it missed the rim, and then he caught his own shot. And then they showed the replay. I'm like, how is that not a foul? He just got slapped across the shoulder/arm. So I don't know. The Kuminga game was actually decent. And so it was JK, Jimmy, and Steph. Those three guys all played well, and everyone else. Pods, if you looked at Pods' numbers, 9 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 4 of 8 shooting, you'd think that's not too bad. But he's almost doing more Kuminga things than, as Stan Decker asked, what did you think of Pods? Again, the numbers look okay, but he's almost doing more Kuminga-esque things than Kuminga. And what I mean by that is, there's some iffy shot selection. He had one, I think it might have been first quarter, second. It was definitely in the first half. It was like a fadeaway jump shot from mid-range. And I was like, that's exactly the stuff Steve doesn't want Kuminga to do. And now we've got Pods doing it. It's like Kuminga has reined himself in and becoming this really effective player. And Pods is stepping up his Kuminga-esque faults, I suppose, in terms of some iffy shot selection and some questionable defense and turnovers and stuff like that. So, not a great performance from Brandon Bajemski, it must be said, even though the numbers would suggest it wasn't too bad. And in fairness, no one else played well. Again, the top three guys all put up numbers. Great. Draymond had 4, 4, and 6, and he had 7, 4, and 6, I should say. And 3 of those points came Warriors' first possession, I think. Really interesting rotation stuff here. Moody played less than 10 minutes in this game. So Moses Moody went in as initially questionable due to a thumb injury and some thumb soreness, which is to do with the surgery that he had on the UCL injury at the start of last offseason. And then he gets updated to available, but he plays less than 10 minutes in this game. Will Richard plays nearly 12 minutes, so more than Moody. Steve Kerr played 12 guys in the first half, and I don't like that at all. You don't have to. So Gary Payton II doesn't play in the second half. Why does he play 3.5 first half minutes? I don't know. Clearly, you want to go away from him, but it's all right, we'll just give you a couple of donation minutes in the first half. Guy Santos plays 4 minutes. Again, this small ball lineup where him or Butler are almost the center at the start of the second quarter, essentially. Get rid of it. Play Quinton Post. Right? Get rid of Payton, get rid of Santos. You've got a 10-man rotation there. Play Moody more. Buddy wasn't great again, but you know what? He made 2 of his 4 threes. It wasn't horrific. He's in the rotation for the time being, whatever. Richard continued to play him for 12 minutes. Horford's the real plus-minus disaster to start the season. He went in, I think, as a -16 on the season, second worst of any Warrior player, and he's a -20 in this game. So the Horford stuff, he's 1 of 6 from the floor, 1 of 4. He had that one in the second half where I think he had Cole Anthony sealed under the rim, and they got it into him, but it was kind of with a few seconds left on the shot clock, and he just rushed it, flat out rushed. jumped up, caught it, and tried to shoot it in one motion and like airballed it completely. And it was like there was still 3 or 4 seconds on the shot clock where there was plenty of time to come back down with it. And again, you had Cole Anthony on you, could have just laid it in. Disappointing. But yeah, get rid of the Peyton Santos minutes and do what you need to do on a nightly basis. Probably play post more. It's very disappointing that kind of Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond had to be overworked in this game and you still lost by 10. That's the worst thing, is when those guys play a lot and you still lose. It's kind of a double loss in that scenario. Thanik says we play the Pacers next, another young, fast-paced team. Surely you remedy that and come out and play well and get a dub. 22 turnovers that led to 27 points. Yeah, big issue. Some of the rotations sucked. I don't want to get too result biased, but that's what it is at the end of the day. We're in a result-based business, and that is sport. And yes, I think some of the rotations are questionable, absolutely, but they look far more questionable when you lose, right? You get away with stuff when you win, and when you lose, there's more issues, and that was the case in this game. Andrew says, embarrassing loss by the Warriors, no excuses, no Giannis Antetokounmpo. Yep. This Warriors team is not as good as we thought, losing to the Bucks without their best player. It's pretty sad that Spurs are better than the Warriors. They got a better record too. I don't want to go as far. I don't want to overreact. That's why I'm not right there saying the Warriors are in title contention right now, and particularly after a performance like this. But even going 4-1 after 5 games, I didn't go all the way to say like this team's a legit title threat. I don't want to overreact to that right now. And I also don't want to overreact to a performance like this. You are going to have a bad game, a disappointing game, multiple. You're going to have a heap of these throughout the regular season, right? This team isn't going to win 65 games. Therefore, you're going to lose, they're not going to win 60 games, you wouldn't have thought. So, therefore, you're going to lose 25, 30 games in a season, right? Minimum, okay? These things are going to happen, right? And I'm pretty careful on trying not to overreact to one specific game. As disappointing as this was, there's no hiding away from that. But to say this Warriors team is not as good as we thought, it depends what you think of the team. Do I think they're really quite good and probably a top 4 or 5 seed in the West? Yes. Do I think they're a legit title contender? Not yet. I need to see more. So I'm not straying away from that based on one disappointing game. Okay, I'm not doing that. And then to say the Spurs are better based on, so I'm really high on the Spurs. I think they're really good. Do I think they're better than the Warriors? No. If you look at who the Spurs have beaten, and again, I think the Spurs can be a playoff team. Wemby is coming hard and fast. Like he's right there in terms of best players in the league already. And it's not going to be too long until he and the Spurs are really, really dominating together. But if you look at who they've played, haven't really beaten too many, legit playoff contenders right yet. So I want to see the schedule harden up and become a bit tougher for them first before I make any wild statements like the Spurs being better than the Warriors, because I do not think that's the case at all. Not yet, anyway. JK had 2 shots in the fourth, should have given him the ball more. He had a couple of plays down the stretch where he was kind of trying to take over, and I was like, he had one layup at the rim, which was nice, and then one he missed. And it was kind of like, what do they make? What does Steve Kerr make of that? Is he happy with that? Is he okay with it? Or does he want the ball to be going to Jimmy and Steph in those situations? Xavier says, we do not have a lockdown defender. Kuminga should be guarding the other team's second best offensive player, not first. It's depending on who it is, I think. I think a guy like Ryan, guys who have real speed, I think are tough for him. He's still more of a wing, like a big forward defender to me. It's like if you went out and asked him to guard like Jaylen Brown, for instance, then I feel like that's Kuminga's kind of matchup. He's got the size and the athleticism for that. Does he have the smarts and the speed to stick with a 6'2", 6'3" guy like a Ryan Rollins? I don't know. Again, the Warriors did fairly well on Jar the other night. So, again, do I want to take drastic conclusions from this game? Not necessarily. Then it says we play the Pacers on Saturday, then another back-to-back. The Spurs look good. Do you think they can win a series? They can if they want. And you know what I mean by that? They have the they have, and I spoke about this on the Patreon earlier in the week, they have the contracts and the draft capital to go out and make a big trade if they want to accelerate their timeline, which I would do, because in today's CBA, you've got to try and make the most of really valuable guys that are on rookie contracts. So I would accelerate the timeline, and I would look to pull another fairly major deal if I'm the Spurs, after obviously acquiring Fox middle of last season. So if they want to win a series, I think they can, yes. But whether they do or not is a different story, because there's probably a chance they just say, all right, let's get Fox back in and let's have this season as another building year, and then really have a crack next season. And of course, who knows what might happen during the next offseason in terms of trades and stuff like that. If Giannis becomes available, do the Spurs kind of put themselves in the Giannis mix? Possibly. Power says Kuminga needed more shots, 9 early, then sat too long. 24 points on 11 shots is very efficient. 7 of 11, 2 of 4. He started the game really well. Really, like his first stint was excellent. I think he had 9, 3, and assist. It was really, like, he had the one on Turner, where Turner's not a horrific defender, and JK just blew by him on the perimeter like he was nothing and had an open layup at the rim. Knocked down 2 of his threes again. That's the concern still, is that Jimmy, JK, and Draymond continue just to shoot the lights out from 3-point range, and it just will not sustain. So that's unfortunate. Again, Kuminga's rebounding was good, 8. Jimmy had 7 offensive rebounds in this game. A lot of them were kind of put back opportunities and stuff like that. So was Kuminga a little bit frustrated towards the end, wanted a couple of more looks? I thought, again, he played fairly well in the flow of the offense, was really patient, got to the line. 8 of 8 from the free throw line. That's another underrated element with Jonathan Kuminga right now. He's making his free throws. So, again, a Jonathan Kuminga game it's disappointing that there was a loss. Was it a great Jonathan Kuminga game? No, because you look at the 5 turnovers. Was he solid again? Yes. He was. Like, you're playing him again for 30 plus minutes next game. His starting role is in no jeopardy. There's no doubt about that. Empire says Horford sits out every back-to-back. Morey's got a lot of them close together. I think it's going to be hard for Horford to get into a shooting rhythm. Great point, because that's what I kind of brought up with. I think Stevie and I spoke about it after the Clippers game, because we were a little bit concerned with Horford's performance in that game, and it was kind of like, well, hang on. I know it seems like a long time ago. When a couple of games go by, it seems like a long time. But the game before the Clippers won, Al Horford was a huge part of beating the Nuggets in overtime. He had like 13 points, did a great job restricting Nikola Jokic. That was 2 games ago for Al Horford, right? And then he plays that game, and then he rests 2 games. He rests the 3rd and the 4th game of the season, which is remarkable to think about. But that's where he's at this stage of his career. And, well, is it the Pacers and Suns coming up? What's the Warriors' schedule? Just double checking it. Pacers and then Suns and Kings on a back-to-back. So they've got a couple of days off. They play Saturday and then they play Tuesday. So there's a couple of days off there. So he'll play, I'm assuming he'll play the Kings game, maybe the second night of a back-to-back against Sabonis. Because, like, Phoenix's center, like, Mark Williams is decent, but I'm not sure, like, the quartet of Mark Williams, Iguodaro, Malawach, and Nick Richards isn't scaring me. So do they play, or do they say, because Phoenix will play a legit center for the whole time, that, hey, we actually kind of do need Horford for that game? I don't know. We'll wait and see. We've got to get through the Indiana game first, obviously. All right. Have we got anything else? We've only been going for 24 minutes. I'm not sure. Like, again, I don't want to take too much from this game. I don't want to necessarily talk for the sake of talking and just come up with some hot takes when they're not necessarily, they're just not necessary. Like, I'm trying to be honest here, trying to find a balance, and I just think, you don't want to overreact to one game. It's very disappointing. It's easily the most disappointing performance of the season. But we're also only 6 games in. The Warriors are 4-2. It's still a decent spot to be in. The schedule's been tough at 6 games in 10 days. Try and get through this Pacer game, get to 5-2. And then, obviously, if you can then get a couple of days off before facing the Suns and Kings, who are both pretty crappy teams. Like, if the Warriors are serious, I mean, it almost makes this loss even more disappointing. The fact that if the Warriors were serious, they would have won this game. They'd beat the Pacers, who are completely undermanned at the moment, and they'd beat Sacramento and Phoenix, who are both really bad teams in the West. So they should. So the schedule, as much as there's road games going on at the moment, the schedule is actually fairly easy for the next few games. They win this game, they're 5-1. They really should be 8-1 after 9 games, really. But now their best opportunity is 7-2, which would still be a strong start. And they're just going to have to try and bank up as many wins as they can. Again, hopefully get some rest before this Indiana game, and see what happens from there. But yeah, just really credit to Ryan Rollins. That's my big takeaway. As I started with, it's amazing that he is now the biggest regret of that Jordan Poole, Chris Paul trade from a Warrior perspective. Who would have ever thought that you would say that? But it's simply the case, and he was outstanding in this game. I think Golden State's defense, that's the one thing to me that I'm looking at from a overall perspective, and that's probably the biggest concern to me is, yes, they were great against the Clippers, keeping them to 79 points, but beyond that, they've given up 118 plus points in 4 of their 6 games. They obviously got blitzed and lit up by the Blazers. They get even against Memphis, they were okay defensively, but I thought the first half was a bit problematic. They gave up 118 points in that game. Obviously, the Nuggets game goes to overtime, but they give up 50 points to Aaron Gordon. So a little bit disappointing defensively to start the season, but it's still early on, so I'm waiting for the Warriors to kick into gear a little bit defensively, like we saw in a manner on Tuesday against the Clippers. I'm going to finish it up there, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. Just a quick chat. Again, it's disappointing, but don't want to take too many, don't want to overreact too much to one game as much as it's very easy to do so. Steve, thanks for being in the chat. We'll finish it up there. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel already, that would be greatly appreciated. You can follow me at POC252. That's POK252 on X/Twitter. Golden State with Mates on Instagram and TikTok as well. And please check out the Patreon if you haven't already. Steve says, terrible loss. This team is not serious about winning. In this game, they weren't. No, I think they're serious overall. But in this game, again, I will go back to the fact, I think once you hear Giannis is out, that can be just a general sigh of relief, and that can bleed into the game in terms of a lack of focus and attention and attentiveness. So it's disappointing. All right, guys, I'm going to finish it up there. Turnovers were a problem. Defense was a problem. Ryan Rollins, a genuine problem. But thanks again. And I'll probably do another live stream after the Pacers game on Saturday. Hopefully a better result from a Warrior perspective.